All right, I got a question for you gray-haired people out there. Just one simple question. What time of your life did you decide you wanted to retire? I didn't think far enough ahead. There's a lot of us didn't think far enough ahead, so I'm not the only one. But I'm at the situation now where I draw Social Security. I've got a full-time job, but there's times I want to just go home. I just want to retire.
So I asked the question, what do you do when you're 55 and have no retirement, no savings, no 401k, no family, no partner, no assets? A lot of people said, there are a lot of us in this situation. And a lot of people also comment at things like, I dream about a community of like-minded people, either tiny houses or Golden Girls style. And I think about all that too. I think about things like platonic partnership.
I just read a statistic that 50% of you between the ages of 55 and 65 have this many dollars to retire. And I thought, oh, shit, man. And that's me, you guys.
We are so excited to retire. The time comes and you count the days down and then you retire and it's like, oh, it's so good. You're just living for that moment of retirement. And then, a week goes by, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, a year goes by, and you look at your money start to shrink without it standing still or getting better. And the bills keep coming in. When I retired, I wasn't ready for the expenses that I incurred. And they weren't expenses that you actually incur. I was just trying to live the same lifestyle as when I wasn't retired and working every day. My wife and I both were working. We had good incomes. And you live to that income. At least I did. I later learned that you're supposed to save a chunk of money and then live to that income. Well, we thought the 401ks would take care of everything, but they didn't take care of everything. And Social Security is just a fraction of what your income was. And so, we are so excited to retire. The time comes and you count the days down and then you retire and it's like, oh, it's so good. You're just living for that moment of retirement. And then, a week goes by, a month goes by, 2 months goes by, a year goes by, and you look at your money start to shrink without it standing still or getting better. And the bills keep coming in. The credit card bills come in, the food, you go to the grocery store, and you don't want to buy off-brand stuff. You want to buy what you bought before. You want to retire with dignity. And retire with dignity means you want to live at least the way you lived before when it comes to just food and bills and just the normal everyday things. I'm not even talking, big vacations or any of that stuff. We never did that stuff anyway. So, long story short, we sat down and figured out how much money we were ripping through.
So it looks like they're planning a little bit too late, although I won't say it's too late. Good thing they're starting to. I think he's going to go through that next. But from what it sounds like from what he's saying is they kind of had things on autopilot. They thought, okay, the minimum, because it sounds like they put the minimum into their 401k. They didn't max it out, or at least try to, because he said that they weren't living below their means. They were spending up to their means. And so that's why the 401k plus the Social Security is not enough for them to maintain their lifestyle. It also sounds like he unfortunately didn't realize that, okay, if I want to maintain a similar lifestyle when I retire to the one I have now while I'm working and my wife's working, we have to put enough money away to sustain that when we're no longer bringing in that income. Because the money that's coming in from our full-time work is not going to equal what we're getting from retirement, at least not unless you put a lot away into your nest egg. So it sounds like him and his wife, they just weren't really thinking about it while they were working. They were kind of living life on autopilot with their finances, thinking that Social Security would take care of it, thinking that their 401k would take care of it. And unfortunately, they're realizing that that's just not the case.
It didn't seem like it, but when over time and then you look back, you're ripping through it. So we did a little projection into the future and discovered we were going to run out of money in about 5 to 6, 7 years if we kept going the way we were going. So we cut back. We cut back more. And everything was oh, it's too much. Oh, it's too much. I wasn't getting my teeth cleaned. My wife would get her teeth cleaned, and 2 years later, I'd get my teeth cleaned. Stupid stuff to save money. We'd sit in a cold house in the wintertime. We would sit in a hot house in the summertime to save money. I was running around turning off lights like my grandmother used to do when I was a kid. I was turning into my grandmother. Could you believe that? Anyway, there's a lot more to this story. I will continue it another time. Tell me what you did to help save your retirement. Tell me how you treated retirement 10 years before you retired. Did you plan on retirement when and you were in your 30s and 40s? When did you start planning your retirement? I want to know these things.
Him and his wife were behind the 8 ball. What they're doing now, or at least what it sounds like they've been doing, maybe they stopped, is they went into hyperdrive. Because they failed to plan in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 50s for their retirement, they got into their retirement and realized life smacked them in the face. They were like, oh, we don't have enough money to survive the rest of our lives. We're gonna run out of cash in 5, 6, 7 years. What are we gonna do? And so they went extreme. Like you said, they were skipping tooth cleaning. They were running around turning off lights. They were going without things that were basic necessities. Meanwhile, in his mind, he was thinking he was gonna maintain the same lifestyle he had before he retired. And again, I'm not trying to come down on him at all, because obviously a lot of us weren't given the financial education that we should be giving, which is why it's great to have resources available online. Information now is ubiquitous. We have to look for it, because it's still not being taught to us as it should be. Financial literacy, that is, or financial education, as a regular class or course in school. So I feel for this gentleman and his wife. I hope they're getting it together. I hope they're finding a way to survive in retirement and they don't have to go back to work like a lot of these older people have to go back to work and do things, especially if it's labor intensive at an older age. It's just not a good thing. My heart goes out to them, but this is just another warning, another lesson to us who are a little bit younger, or maybe a lot younger, to get our financial house in order now before we get to our golden years.
I just read a statistic that 50% of you between the ages of 55 and 65 have this many dollars to retire. And I thought, oh, shit, man. And that's me, you guys. But it also isn't. My husband works for the government. He just retired young, and he got a second job in order to create a second retirement. So I'm seeing the numbers very real. And I'm successful. I'm a commission salesperson, but I got to be honest with you. Poof, the time went. Poof. And I haven't done any of that. So I wanted to share with you guys that I just opened a Vanguard account, which I'm drilling into my kids as well right now, that no one drilled into me. It's not too late, you guys. If you look on TikTok on these things, how to open a Vanguard account, how to start, how it compounds at just minimal amount of money every month, minimal or more, whatever you want to do. I have a payment going out twice a month that will compound. In my mid 50s, reasonably for 20 years, how it's going to compound will blow you away. So I wanted to show you the soft underbelly of what I didn't do. Statistically, my husband, I should be a survivor in time. But what if I go first? I've done nothing to protect everything that we've built, right? Nothing. So that's my honest truth. Start now. Don't not start because you're like, oh, it's too late. No, it's never too late, you guys. So, all right, good luck.
Well, at least she has her husband, and at least she's actually trying to start to build some type of retirement now. And what she's talking about, from what it sounds like, is a Roth IRA. And so what that is this post-tax income you put into an account and you invest in different things, ETFs, index fund, individual stocks, etc., bonds, CDs, whatever you want to invest in, and that money grows. And when you withdraw that money, it's tax-free, as long as you withdraw it after 59 and a half. For the most part, there are ways you can get it before that, but that's not for this video. What she's saying is, even though she's 55 or her mid 50s, she's saying that she has another 20 years or so to build that money and to have it compound, so that when she decides to retire, if she ever decides to retire, she'll have that money as opposed to having this. Now, I do want to take a second here, because even though she said it's never too late to start, let's take a look and compare how much the difference is between, let's say, starting to invest in a Roth IRA at, let's say, 25 years old versus 55 years old, and how much you'll have by, let's say, 70 years old. Okay, so guys, I use ChatGPT because why not? This is called leveraging technology to our advantage. And I simply asked ChatGPT something quick. Hey, please provide me a comparison of how much money I would likely have at age 70 if I start investing in a Roth IRA at 25 years old versus starting at 55 years old. And it broke down a comparison for me. So average annual rate of return, 7%. That's what it's basing this off of. And it's saying the contribution limit, which currently right now is $6,500 if you're under age 50, $7,500 if you're age 50 or plus. So in scenario one, you start investing at age 25, contribute from 25 65 to 70 years old, that's 45 years, you're contributing the maximum, which we're assuming remains at 6,500, which is probably going to increase. And then of course, by age 50, you can increase, put more in there. Projected value by age 70, look at that. Over $2 million, $2,031,000 by age 70 if you start investing into Roth IRA at age 25. Let's compare that to investing when you started at 55, like the woman in the video a second ago. Look at that, look at the difference. A tenth of that, basically. $202,000. While she's right that it's never too late and that you should start investing, if you just learned about the Roth IRA now or any other type of investment account you haven't been investing, do it now. But the amount of time that you have for that money to compound, the power is just not nearly the same, as you can see just by this simple scenario. That's just the power of compound interest. As Warren Buffett said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world.
So I asked the question, what do you do when you're 55 and have no retirement, no savings, no 401k, no family, no partner, no assets? And you guys responded with so many suggestions. So please keep those coming. The basics of what I got was open a Roth IRA immediately and max it out, if possible, every year. And then also there were words like financial advisor and acronyms like ETF. I don't know what these are, but we're going to figure it out together. Also, a lot of people said, you know, there are a lot of us in this situation. And a lot of people also commented things like, I dream about a community of like-minded people, either tiny houses or Golden Girls style. And I think about all that too. I think about things like platonic partnership, but, you know, maybe even with a group or one person, and not, if possible, not necessarily living in the same house, but on the same property or same establishment of some sort where people have their own space, but you notice if somebody's lights don't come on at night or they don't come out in the morning or whatever. You know, you just kind of keep an eye out for each other, especially for those of us without partners. Just kind of have our own little community. I love that idea, and I think it's possible, even for those of us that don't have money to fund it. I think it's possible. I don't know how, but I think we should seriously dig into this.
I do know a lot of friends and close acquaintances who are younger than me, who have Gen X parents, and I even have some Gen X friends. And unfortunately, a lot of them, this is anecdotal, don't have retirements. It's a thing, it's like a theme. I don't know why, but a lot of them are not prepared for retirement. They don't have any savings. They are essentially going to either depend on their children, unfortunately, or they are gonna have to try to figure it out and do things that are maybe a bit, they might seem a bit odd now, but I think is the way things are heading, and is what she's saying, communal living, kind of like a Golden Girl style, where you aren't necessarily living with your partner and aging with them. You're not having your kids to help take care of you, because as she mentioned, she has no kids, she has no partner, she has no savings, she has no investments. And she's said 55 years old. So that's a scary place to be in if you think about it, because it's more than just the financial aspect of it, which she mentioned, which is obviously very important. It's also the community aspect of it. Who's there to take after, who's there to look after you? Who's there to make sure that you, if something happens to you in your house and you need assistance, they can get you assistance. So that's what she's saying. I think that's where we're heading. I think we're going to go back to a more communal way of living, because I think that whenever things get too far extreme, when I say that, I mean, of course, for most of the time, it's been people in families or villages, even extended families. And we went from extended families and villages to nuclear households, the typical standard 2-parent household and some kids, maybe 2 kids, 3 kids and a dog. And now we've gone from that to a lot of people living by themselves and living by themselves longer. And so I think when that happens, you see the ramifications of that, which is situations like this. Not saying that she's not allowed to make her own life decisions, but you get to a certain age and you're like, okay, well, now what? I don't have people here to really look after me or take care of me or watch out for my well-being. And what that does is that, of course, taxes no pun intended, taxes our system, because taxes go to provide care for people who are older, i.e. Medicare or Medicaid, I forget which one is which. And so there's that. And then of course you have situations where it puts, let's say, I hope this doesn't happen to her, but let's say people that aren't prepared like her maybe end up homeless. And if they're homeless, then maybe they go into shelters or maybe they end up on some type of government assistance. It's just a lot. So, you know, again, this is another cautionary tale for those of us who are younger or even older to think ahead, think about our future selves and make decisions now while we're more able and willing and have more energy to work that will benefit our future selves and not think so much about here, now, in the moment.
All right, I got a question for you gray-haired people out there. Just one simple question. What time of your life did you decide you wanted to retire? And I'm not talking to the ones that work for the state or people that's got retirement plans and all that stuff. I know a gentleman that worked 20 years for the state. He's 91 years old. He's been retired longer than he worked. I didn't think far enough ahead. There's a lot of us didn't think far enough ahead. So I'm not the only one. But I'm at the situation now where I draw Social Security. I've got a full-time job. Social Security is at my, I could draw full-time Social Security, not get penalized for it. And I work full-time at this job. But there's times I want to just go home. I mean, I just want to retire. But then there's times I enjoy working. It's hard to explain. I guess if you was my age and that's a predicament, you would understand. For those of you that are at my age, do I really want to retire? Do I want to work another 2 or 3 years? I would like to work till I'm 70, but I'm trying to get some things together so I can retire earlier. I've got a little small worm farm. I know that don't sound like much, but you know there's money to be made at worm farming. And I got side jobs that I could do as far as refrigeration wise. I do refrigeration work. So I just would like some opinions. When do you decide you want to retire? When does that time come? Do you wait till your body says quit? Or do you wait till you just want to retire? Or you just retire to try to enjoy life for a little while? Just a question to throw out there.
Okay, so here's a situation where you think to yourself, it's better to be able to and not need to than to need to and not be able to. So it's not that as if everyone wants to just retire and do nothing. I think that's probably a bad idea because there are studies that show that leads to rapid decline, both physically and mentally. So I don't think that we are meant to sit around and do nothing because the body then atrophies. But I think that we are supposed to slow down as we get older and maybe work when we feel like working, when we feel able and up to working physically or mentally, and not because we have to. So I think that's where the preparation comes into play. So you might have enough put away to where you don't have to work anymore and your money should outlive you, hopefully. But that's the best case scenario where a lot of people are in situations where they have to keep working into 60s, 70s, 80s even. That's the scary part. So I think that's the part where planning early comes into play. He could work a full-time job because he wants to work a full-time job. It sounds like he's doing it because he's kind of trying to catch up. Like a lot of people in this video are trying to catch up, and a lot of people are in his same situation where they don't have the ability to retire and they're 55 plus, 60 plus. But being able to retire and not needing to is a blessed place to be. But wanting to retire and not being able to because your money is not going to sustain you or is going to run out before you do, not a good place to be. That being said, I hope the best for all of you. I hope that we're all, again, taking these lessons and applying them to our own lives, whether that be, just living below our means, putting money away into the stock market, putting money away into real estate, whatever your investment of choice is. Even that means investing in community, which is kind of a weird thing to think about, right? Investing in relationships, and again, relationships aren't for everybody. Kids aren't for everybody. But just thinking about your future self. What does it look like? What does your life look like? Who do you want around? What do you want to be able to do? And these are things conversations I'm having with myself as a 30-something-year-old, hopefully I live a long, healthy life, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, who knows? I can't just live for the now because that'd be neglecting my future self and then I regret it looking back. So anyways, with that being said, I really appreciate if you made it this far in the video. Feel free to give it the like and to subscribe and to comment. I would love to hear comments on this. I'm very curious to see what you think about this. And until next time, make smart financial decisions.